Good evening, everyone. This is Atmospheric Alex here with another weather forecast and discussion. And yeah, this hasn't been exactly a week yet, but I wanted to do an extra little video here or two because we have a lot of active weather on the way. We're going to be talking about potentially multiple snowstorms up north here in the central northern Great Plains, the Ohio Valley, Midwest, Northeast, Mid-Atlantic regions. Then we're going to be moving on to our flooding rain risk down here and severe weather risk even further south for areas of Dixie Alley. We have a lot to go over in this video, so let's get started. So we're going to be going through today's video like words on a page. We're going to be going from left to right here. So we're going to start out in the west. Just a couple things to note here. We're talking about our active pattern extending all the way out here. From the European model, you can see a very significant storm system moving in here going into Thursday. Taking a look at heavy rainfall, strong winds, heavy mountain snow in the Sierras. That'll blow on through. You can see it entering the Rockies going into Friday. So definitely got a bit of an active system there. And then for the rest of the time frame, we're just going to see this pinwheel of activity up further north here. So that is going to be something to kind of monitor over the next few days, but nothing absolutely major as of now. Our GFS model shows roughly the same thing. It shows a much more pronounced fire hose of moisture. Yeah, take a look at that slamming the Sierras, extremely heavy wet snow. Wow, I could only imagine what it would like to be up there during that. That would be absolutely insane. To experience snow rates that are off the charts, actually, on this particular website. Definitely going to be picking up several feet of snow up there in the Sierras, and this continues on through. And going off further to the east, like I said, further off into Nevada, Utah, portions of Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, you get the idea further north. We're talking about our activity over there as well. Now it's time to move further off to the east here into our southeast region. You can see this constant stream of moisture coming out of the Gulf here, slugging all of its moisture into the southeast, especially in the Tennessee here. We have been dealing with quite a bit of rain over the past few days, and this will just continue. I mean, this is going into tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, the evening, and just you get these shots of heavier rain that move in, these little cells here. Little thunderstorms, if you will, and even some severe weather down here, and we'll be talking about that later in this video. A bunch of training moisture, the mountains getting a heavy slug of rain going into Thursday morning, and that should all move on out of here off to the east. That's not our only system. We have another one coming in on Saturday and Sunday, where we are talking about a very big severe weather episode streaming up across Dixie Alley here. We could, do not quote me on this, we could maybe see an outbreak potential with this, okay? Got a large area involved, a large warm sector could be present if we see our orientation of the trough favorable like so. And you get this massive squall line QLCS that pushes through. Talking about damaging winds all along this, moving off to the east. Again, this is not a forecast because we're still too far out, too much uncertainty. But what we do know is there will be heavy rain in some areas. Your GFS model, same sort of thing here. Noticing a lot more concentration across East Tennessee. I would watch out for some localized flooding, even river flooding as well. Going into Thursday, that's when your water levels will be the highest. And here's your second system. Again, it's weird, though, how uncertain this is. Your European model had a line going all the way up here. Your GFS, not so much, right? Kind of curves it off right here. And this would cause very significant flooding problems for Middle Tennessee going into southern Kentucky. Look at that rain. Heavy rain for the entirety of Saturday. That would be horrible for those areas. That would result in significant field flooding, river flooding as well. And that blows on out pretty quickly. And so how much rain could we see out of this system here? From the European model, not nearly as aggressive as the other day, so this is fantastic news. But still, Areas like northern Alabama, northern Georgia, even some of the Appalachian Mountains there, like in the Smokies, could see 5 to 7 inches of rain over the next week. That is a lot to deal with, isn't it? You could imagine the flooding that could result from that. And then, of course, in surrounding areas, everywhere in the red is 2 or more inches, so that is enough to cause flooding. And just look at the widespread nature of this event here. There's just a lot of states getting involved down south here with all this heavy rain. And your GFS model going a little more aggressive, showing up to 9 inches here. Look at that, in northern Tennessee near Nashville. Let's hope we don't get a scenario like this. Especially in a city like this, getting 8 inches of rain, that would be quite the scenario, wouldn't it? Then across the mountains, around 5 to 7 inches. I think that's pretty much locked in at this point in the higher elevations. And then elsewhere, 4 to 5 inches, even in the lower elevations here. So again, flooding. I have to hammer that point home multiple times here. If you see a flooded roadway, turn around and don't drown, because it could get a little bit serious. You don't know how deep that standing or flowing water is on the roadway, so it's better to just kind of turn around or navigate around it if you can, if there is another way. Alrighty, so we have now moved into part 2 of the video, and this is going to be really focusing on our big severe weather risk down for Dixie Alley tomorrow. Alright, so we're going to take a look at weather-wise right here, and we're going to look at our severe weather risk for tomorrow. You can see your level 1 and then your level 2 out of 5 on your severe weather scale is present, your nice slight risk here, through portions of eastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern central Alabama, even into western Georgia. Basically the same areas that would see severe weather at this time of year. And our overall risks look like this. We have a nice little 15% wind risk here, so potentially for some damaging at 60, maybe 70 isolated mile-an-hour winds. These storms cannot be ruled out. Our hail risk, we actually don't have one, so this is very fantastic news. I do expect a 5% to get issued. I'm really curious why they don't have one. The storms themselves do look quite intense. And your tornado risk, you do have a 5% risk out here. So when you get into those brown colors there, that's when you really need to start monitoring, the radar, your local forecasts for more info. Maybe even switch on that local station as well for weather so you can get informed. Alright, now what's our timing looking like for tomorrow? So you could see just some scattered showers and thunderstorms moving through. As we go into tomorrow morning, we're going to start here around 9, 10, 11 a.m. You could already see some cells firing up here. This won't really pose a severe risk as of yet. Around Meridian, Jackson. As we move further into the morning, though, going into the afternoon, here's where things start to get interesting. You see these bowing segments here of damaging winds that kind of blow on through areas near Meridian here, Camden, Montgomery, Birmingham. Looks like around 1, 2, 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. And here's where things get really interesting. You get more daytime heating, and supercells do begin to develop across some areas here. Also want to note these linear segments getting even more powerful. Look at this one pushing through Montgomery. Could contain 60, 70 mile an hour winds in that environment. So tomorrow evening is going to be quite an interesting one for a lot of areas. And yeah, take a look at this. Your nice curly cues here really beginning to take place. Your supercellular activity is on the rise, and your tornado threat will be as well. Going through, I'd say around 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. tomorrow night seems like a very solid time frame for these supercells. We got places like Baton Rouge, Macomb here, Meridian, Camden, Evergreen, Montgomery, even Columbus, Georgia a little bit here. And yeah, these cells become a lot more defined, but then get a little more embedded in this area of rain. It's a lot more messy in nature. And they really begin to fall apart around 2 to 3 a.m. Thursday morning. And how about your available storm energy? How much of it do we have? Well, you can see here we have in between 1,000 to 2,000 joules of energy. This is definitely enough to sustain severe weather, maybe significant severe weather at that. honestly, maybe we'll see a risk upgrade tomorrow. It's a little uncertain as of now, but it wouldn't shock me one bit. And as we go into tomorrow night, you could really see here that 1,000 to 1,500 amount of storm energy here really skirting across portions of southern Mississippi, southern Louisiana, and southern Alabama. Even the Florida Panhandle, too, can't leave you all out of this at all. But definitely enough storm energy to sustain a nocturnal tornado threat as well. And your wind shear, you have a lot of it here. I want you to take a look at this going into the evening, especially, even into the overnight hours. Talk about over 50 knots of lower level flow across these areas. Definitely support for tornadoes. If we can see those semi-discrete, fully discrete supercells, I honestly could not rule out a stronger tornado. It's, again, some uncertainty here, but just from the look of this, I would kind of prepare as if there's a possibility. Of course, it's better to be safe than sorry in these instances. And hey, if you still have any storms in this general vicinity here, talk about up to 60 knots of lower level flow. So tornado threat could definitely be pretty stabilized throughout the night. A fairly elevated threat. So I'd highly recommend turning on emergency alert notifications on your phone, and also turning on your weather radio to maximum volume so you know when those warnings get issued, and so you're prepared if there is a tornado running down your neighborhood. You do not want that, especially in the middle of the night, let me tell you that. And, oh, silly me, I nearly forgot about this. We're talking about yet another severe weather risk here going into Saturday here, and we could be talking about our potential outbreak. I want to say potential because we're not set in stone yet, where we could be talking about damaging winds, some hail, and tornadoes possible. You might even see a strong tornado or two with this risk. It's a larger area, even puncturing up into middle and even eastern Tennessee as well. I know you all there do not want to hear about another severe weather risk. You've dealt with enough this winter, and honestly, enough for the spring already. So just again, this risk likely won't impact East Tennessee as much. These don't tend to do so. Alright, it is now time for part 3 of the video. I told you it was going to be a bit of a long one. Now we're going to cover our major snowstorm threats that will be occurring in the northern US. And it all starts with this one going into tomorrow. Look at this little snowstorm we could be having here across the Midwest. Take a look at this into St. Louis. You could be seeing some moderate, potentially heavy snow going into tomorrow afternoon and into the evening as well. Yeah, look at that heavy banding down there. And you could just see, just a steady, kind of light to moderate snow, if you will, across Illinois, portions of northern Indiana, Michigan, Iowa, Missouri, Wisconsin, yeah, all the above here. We'll definitely be talking about some moderate snowfall. And for Chicago, this could start around noon tomorrow and will likely last. We even get some lake effect snow banding behind it. Could last all the way through about 4 a.m. Thursday morning. Now, I can't leave you all out here going into Ohio. We are talking about a bout of moderate to heavy snow moving into the Cleveland area, even up through Buffalo. Wow, that name totally sounds familiar, doesn't it? And up into Watertown as well, but take a look at that. And then some back-end energy swinging around, you get the idea. Now, what about after that? Here's your GFS model. You can see your snowstorm moving in tomorrow. Won't be anything too significant, just a quick little flurry event, if you will. Quick little flurry of snow. And you can see here is another little system going into Friday and Saturday. This is what you'd call a clipper with the snow on the front end of it. So, kind of bizarre how it's moving in. You can see all this energy down here. Your PML initializing this really weirdly, but could see some moderate to heavy bursts of snow embedded in this going into Saturday morning, especially for the Chicago area. Portage, Chesterton, I'm talking about you all up there, and then even going further off to the east as well. This tries to materialize a little more, and it finally does going into Saturday and Sunday. We are talking about potentially significant winter storm event across the same exact areas, right? That be dealing with this first snowstorm. Then getting heavier as you move into Canada a little bit. Just thought I'd mention that. Back-end energy. And you get this weird little fast-moving clipper system going into Monday. We'll see if that materializes. And then we'll talk about that later. And really, after this, we're not talking about that much. Things kind of quiet down. Maybe some light snow events here or there, but a lot more tame than it was looking a few days ago. Another light snow event. I sound like a broken record, don't I? Just a lot of energy flying around. That's kind of hard to detect on the models. Any one of these could really get a lot more significance, so it's important to keep your eyes on the models and on local forecasts, especially for the Chicago area. You never know if something will uptrend or downtrend pretty quickly. Here's your GFS model. A European model was last. I may have said GFS for that. Same song and dance, a little more significant. This could be more of a 4 to 6 inch event across a widespread area, including Chicago. So, well, of course, we'll take a look at all that later. And then, hey, another moderate snowstorm moving in here going into Friday. That little clipper on the European looking a little more significant here. And then more energy bundling up down here. And that other snowstorm for Sunday never gets going. That's a little surprising, isn't it? You can see the uncertainties here, right? And you get this little clipper system moving into Tuesday and Wednesday. We will really have to talk about that later. And some lake effects, snow, just flat kind of drifting around, nothing much. How about for the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic? Well, we have our first snowstorm here that's happening right now, actually. DC is currently seeing some pretty heavy snowfall at the moment. And they even have mesoscale convective discussions out for those areas as well. And this brings kind of like a pseudo nor'easter look here. Maybe get some moderate snow in downtown New York City, possibly, going into tomorrow morning. And you can actually see as well, I want to note some of your icing concerns as well, especially in your valleys. You really need to watch out. Areas that are not able to get above freezing over the next few days will deal with quite a bit of icing. But this moves on through, going into tomorrow. And, really not much else right after that. Could see another moderate winter storm event, maybe a little more major as you go further north into Sunday. Maybe a bit of an ice storm concern here for Maine, maybe New Hampshire as well. That moves out. Potentially a significant lake effect snow event for Watertown, Buffalo. You get the idea with that. And, we'll look at that later. And really not much else to say after that, just more light snow events. Your GFS model, kind of sound like a broken record, a lot more significant out of the US into Canada here. And then followed up by a moderate snowstorm, same areas as European, you get the idea. Actually looking a little more major, a little further south here, going to central Pennsylvania, upstate of New York here, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So, a little bit further south on the models, if you will. And then that down there gets me excited. And then, really not much else after that. Cold air sets in, so cold and dry air. And then really quickly, I want to look at your expected snowfall over these next few systems. European model, I would really like to note here, going for 10 inches in central Virginia. Goodness, yeah, this one's actually overperforming quite a lot for a lot of areas, so keep that in mind. Oh, here's your second system here as we go into tomorrow night, generally around 2 to 4 inches for a widespread region here. Nothing that you all can't handle. You've seen this about millions of times over the past decades and centuries. And then here you go. Going into Saturday and Sunday, around 4 to 6 inches here, going to southern Michigan, northern Ohio. Maybe isolated portions at 8 inches. You can see that back end energy really flying on in. And then you have system number 3 down here. This one could be a lot further south. We're talking about Arkansas here. European models showing upwards of 10 inches for Little Rock. Yeah, not a forecast, but could be a possibility. This does end up drifting into Tennessee and Kentucky. Here, delivering maybe 2 to 4 inches for Kentucky. You saw that just this morning, I believe. So, it's a lot of activity, and then not a forecast. Let's just ignore that for now and move on with our life, right? Your GFS model is roughly the same. Yeah, take a look at DC, or south of DC, I should say, getting over a foot. Tonight, we'll see. It's a possibility. 4 to 6 inches, a little more bullish here. Chicago here, getting it specifically on 4 to 5 inches. And going into Detroit, around 6 to 7 inches, just trying to name off a few areas if I can. And really blows up going into Canada. Goodness, 20 inches almost? That might be overdoing it. And you can see System 2 a lot more aggressive here. Generally 4 to 7 inches across, say, Wisconsin, northern Illinois, northern Indiana, into Michigan, and northern Ohio. Definitely different than European, for sure. And then as we take a look at System number 3, 14 inches for northeast Oklahoma. I'm not really buying that. But a nice little snowstorm here going into Tennessee. Look at this for the GFS showing 2 to 3 inches. For West Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, even East Tennessee. Maybe one more snow event to round off the month or two. We'll just have to see, right? And then North Carolina, Virginia, that's too far out. And so lastly but not leastly, let's take a look at weather-wise again at our WSSI outlook here, your winter storm significance. And you could see here for tonight, again, across the Delmarva, we're talking about a moderate impact in the form of heavy snow. And then even kind of leaking down into North Carolina a little for ice. We could see about a quarter to a half an inch of ice in localized spots, maybe near Asheville and some of your valleys. You really need to pay attention closely to that. And then, of course, you know, we got stuff ongoing here across Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, but of a moderate risk over there. And going into tomorrow, yeah, you could see higher snow totals here across these areas, but yeah, you're also used to it, so a minor impact, nothing significant. Some moderate impacts around Milwaukee and Detroit, but really nothing to get worried about at all. Maybe just a little bit of inconveniences on travel, but if you like the snow, this is fantastic news. Kind of harmless, right? And going on into day 3 here, yeah, I mean, you could see some freezing rain out here in portions of Virginia, so something to really keep in mind here as we see our moderate impacts. Oh gosh, and with that said, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Hope you enjoyed. I apologize if it dragged on a little bit. There was so much to talk about, and well, it was kind of the similar information, especially with our snowstorms up here. Got a little bit tiring, right? Same old, same old. You all are used to the snow up here. Why am I even reporting on this? No. No, I mean, I like reporting on this. I think it's quite interesting, especially for you snow lovers up there. And with that said, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to smash that like button and even subscribe to my little corner of the weather community. And as always, feel free to leave a comment in the section below, just telling me how I did, if everything was great this video, and what future suggestions you have for me. Stay weather aware, especially for everyone down here in the deep south, where we could be seeing quite a few rounds of severe weather coming up. Have a wonderful night, everyone.